Welcome to the Put On Waivers Media Group, home of the Put On Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
And welcome everybody to the glorious episode of the Put On Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with Ryan Holmes, and we are podcasting off the 0-2 shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. I mean, I would have set up for 1-1, but obviously 0-2 is just gross. But we'll kind of break that down and talk to you guys about that. PORSBR is my Twitter handle, and Ryan is RHOLM22. Ryan, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. I finally got to watch the all 22, and I was texting you like midway through the third quarter. I'm like, hey, they're dominating. They're going to win this game. I still can't believe they lost that game.
It is comical. It's almost comical. But let's just jump right into that part of it. Let's see here. We got.
Yeah, this is just the standard staple play out of McDaniels and New England's playbook. It's Haas Z juke. So Haas is just, it's a hitch and a seam. It's mirrored. So on both sides of the formation, you have a hitch by the outside receiver. You have a seam by the inside receiver. And then the juke is obviously Renfro in this route. So Renfro's just reading the leverage of that linebacker. As soon as that linebacker jumps outside, Renfro wins inside. So he has the option of going in or out and basically just working against whatever leverage the linebacker gives him. The Raiders ran this play probably 7 or 8 times in this game, and sometimes it was inside to Adams. They never threw it to Adams in there, but this is an easy way to get one of your best receivers matched up one-on-one against a linebacker. And this is what the Patriots did forever with Welker, Amendola, Edelman. And you see right here, Renfro wins, and it's an easy 20-yard gain when he makes the tackler miss in the open field.
So is he? My questions is: do you, as far as like the seams on the side, are those? Is the quarterback taking a peek at those, or is it is this play just mainly for the slot receiver, the inside receiver, the slot receiver?
Yeah. So when the Patriots ran this, they ran it with Gronkowski as one of the seam routes. So it depends on the coverage the defense is giving you. So if they come out and it's single high, and you can run those seam routes, if you're doing it against cover 1, potentially cover 3, then yeah, the seam is where you want to go with that because you're going to have an advantage. And if not, if they're going to play too high, they're going to play cover 2, cover 4, cover 2 man, then you work underneath and you work to the juke route.
All right, and let's roll with this play led to the INT by Amik Robinson.
Yeah, the Raiders played a lot of cover 2 in this game. So this is an inverted cover 2. So you have the corner actually rotating back to be one of the deep safeties. So you're going to see Rock Ya-Sin. They're going to show single high here, middle of the field closed. After the snap, you see the safeties work deep. And then what happens is you're going to have Harmon come up, and he's actually going to replace where Ya-Sin left. And then obviously you have Robertson, who's working the curl flat there. There's no defender in that area, so he's going to sink, and he sinks and is able to pick this ball off. Now, I don't know if he got deep enough here. Maybe Murray makes a better throw. He can complete this. But that's basically the defense. They disguise this. They ran this at least 4 or 5 times in this game, too, where they had the safety working in the deep half. The corner working the deep half, the safety coming up. So a bunch of cover 2 in this game from the Raiders.
And then we all like power football here, so let's do a little wham here.
Yeah, this is interesting. I haven't seen them do this on tape in the preseason, or week 1. So this is something that they designed specifically for the Cardinals. As you see, the center and the right guard allow that one technique defensive tackle just to go upfield, and they immediately release. And you're going to see Parham's going to work to the backside A gap. There's a linebacker there. Cotton's going to work to the linebacker on the play side, and then boom, here comes the fullback who has an angle, Johnson. He's going to wham block or trap that defensive tackle. This is something they had to have seen on tape from the Cardinals because their defensive tackle, number 90, was disrupting this game. He got up the field. This time it's 95. Usually you're going to wham or trap a 3 technique. So one technique, they're used to getting double teamed. They're not used to getting wham blocks. So when you let him get upfield, they don't really know what to do. and then
Mhm.
they get trapped. Obviously, here comes the fullback to block him. Now, it didn't work on a couple of other plays, but that's something specifically you can do with a bigger fullback that weighs 260 pounds like Johnson. He can take on those one techniques. And then you saw the adjustment by the Cardinals. They ended up putting, which we talked about on the show last week, they put a defensive tackle head up on Parham in the second half, and they went with a zero technique right on top of him. So that you couldn't do that anymore.
Yeah, everybody was screaming and yelling for the Raiders to run the football. So one of the plays that I liked in this game was obviously this one here, where he just kind of runs, he just kind of just jumps this thing outside and then bursts to the outside. And then gets once he gets that far into the secondary, Jacobs is gonna be able to do his thing, and be able to make a explosive play here. Against the Cardinals. And it looks like on that first drive that they were going to be able to run the football pretty well here. On this one here, I want to see if the quarterback is going to be part of the running game, then let him be part of the running game and let him get hit. So like if I'm coaching, and then this is one thing I love about, I want to see the quarterback get hit. Abram kind of lays into Kyler Murray there. I wanted to see more of that, especially when they went to the pitching the ball to the outside, a little wishbone action, whatever they were trying to do there. Here was the play where I was talking about. It was actually, I talked about it before on the previous podcast. It wasn't a first down; it was a second down play, and I just feel like this was like, this is kind of a play that I kind of felt like the Raiders were in trouble. The first down play, they tried to get the ball a deeper route to Adams. It wasn't. The pressure was too much, so they ended up being incompletion. Almost was an open hand interception. A fumble. But here, I just feel like, just step up and just make this throw. In his chest, let him get an opportunity to catch the ball. How tall is Hollins?
6'5". Did you see what play call that was though?
Oh, that was Haas. Haas juke.
There's your Haas juke with Adams inside. So he's running the hitch route on the outside. It's Hollins.
Yeah, so they love that play, and I just feel like if he has that comeback, like just give him the ball where he can make a play with the football. I think a lot of people were stressed out about how on the fumble, second fumble by Hunter Renfrow, if he was able to give him the football in a situation where, he was able to hold on, let me stop that right there. Where he could have made a play on the ball cleanly, he could have got up the field and maybe made a play there as well. I thought this was the previous play on fourth down. I thought the Raiders did a really good job on fourth down. In this situation, they actually got fourth down stops, which is something that that's why I was, there are little things that Patrick Graham did in this game that I didn't love, but this right here is like, we were dying for this in the last game of the year, right? Getting the fourth down stop, and they were able to get a fourth down stop here. The Cardinals try to fake the handoff in the middle. Obviously, you get a little run pass option here with Kyler Murray. They did a great job of covering the outside so we can't get to the corner. And then, and Hobbs was having none of it in the end zone, covering Zach Ertz there as well too. So a lot of good.
Hobbs was really patient on that one. Yeah. He didn't take the eye candy.
Yeah. I've seen that eye candy work against the Raiders plenty a lot of times. So I give him credit for that. Hobbs, and I thought, did you think like it was pass interference on that play with Hobbs?
It was holding, yeah. They showed it at the stadium on the replay, and he did grab some jerseys. He grabbed,
yeah. So, I think 2 plays later is where they got the interceptions for Meek Robinson, as far as that goes. So the Raiders did. Let's go through some of this news from the week, because they signed they traded for Justin Herron from the Patriots. Obviously, it just makes sense to improve the offensive line. I think we talked about that a couple of times in the offseason. So
I think everyone did.
I think everybody did, and then we weren't the only ones. And then also Blake Martinez makes you think that he came in today for a workout with the Raiders. Makes you think that he might be a potential signing for the Raiders as well, because his familiarity with Patrick Graham's system, and it just makes sense to go ahead and do that because they're playing a pretty big running back this week.
Yeah, I was kind of against it when the name came up his first visit, just because if Perryman's healthy, you don't need Blake Martinez. But Perryman's not healthy. He hasn't practiced all week. It doesn't look like he's going to play this week. And I would say he's probably doubtful at this point. He's got to get on the practice field on Friday. Clearly, if he doesn't, he's not going to play. But they gave a chance here to Brown and Diablo. And if you ask me, what are the weaknesses on this defense right now? The linebackers and pass coverage have been a weakness. When you talk about Diablo, he's having a hard time figuring out his reads, and he's getting sucked in. Sometimes he's dropping too deep. He's not getting to the right landmarks as far as the hash and certain zone coverages, and he got picked apart for the second week in a row. I want to say the passer rating against him this year is over 125. Brown's been okay in pass coverage. The problem with Brown is he's not a very good run defender, and a couple of times he jumped inside the back, or Murray got outside. He gets swallowed up pretty easily by linemen. He gets caught up in the trash. So, and then behind him you have two rookies. So there's not another veteran guy there. If they're bringing Martinez in, that leads me to believe Perryman is going to be out for a couple of weeks here. He's not close.
Yeah, and it might be after the bye when he comes back. As far as that goes. So watching Patrick Graham's defense again for another week, I think obviously the critiques I have of this is of just the rushing 2, rushing 3. Not a fan of that part of it, but they did do a good job they're one of the top teams in the league as far as getting off the field on third down. So they have been getting off the field on third down. The screen passes and the short passes have been something that people have been able to complete against him. And his defense, you would like to see just once in a while, just kind of, just run underneath some of those short passes and see if maybe you get a pick 6 or something like that. If that's what you're going to be giving up. But you mentioned a lot of cover 2, so that's what they like to do as far as that goes. And they haven't given up a lot of big plays over the top. They did give up that was a really great catch for the touchdown by Marquise, by Hollywood Brown, in the left corner of the end zone there. But for the most part, anything else you see from this defense that they've been good. They've been good enough to give the Raiders an opportunity to win. But where do you see the biggest improvement? As far as in-game stuff that they got to get rid of?
To me, it's the linebackers understanding passing strengths versus passing weaknesses, where to open up on your drops to the 3 wide receiver side passing strength or to the weakness. And I think Diablo's struggling there. They blitzed a lot in the first 3 quarters.
Yeah.
And they stopped in the fourth quarter. When it got to press time, cutting time, they stopped blitzing. And then what you saw was kind of that mush rush where they weren't allowing Murray to get outside the pocket. They wanted to make him throw from in the pocket, and it worked for the most part. The problem was they never really adjusted the underneath coverage, and they were giving up that hitch route to them. When they went 3-by-1 or 3-by-2, they were just running that hitch route to Zach Ertz. And then the adjustment you saw from the Cardinals was like, well, if they're going to drop off and play cover 2, and that 5-man fence, the underneath coverage is going to be 8 to 10 yards deep, we're just going to start throwing screens. And there was a couple of plays, the Raiders were just outmanned. They were outnumbered. When you saw some of those funky formations with 4 wide receivers to one side of the field, the Raiders would have 3 defenders. Sometimes when they had trips to one side, they'd only have 3. But one of the 3 was a safety that was trying to disguise, and he's 10 yards, 12 yards downfield. Boom, screen, flare route, get the ball, swing route. And they were picking up 8 yards a chunk. So I don't think they got beat with explosive plays down the field. They just, the fourth quarter, they didn't make the adjustments to what the Cardinals were doing. And then they're also playing in desperation mode where they're going for it on 4th down a lot.
Yeah.
Watching it again, the one play that the Raiders probably wish they could get back was the 4th down, not the one that they scored the touchdown, the one before that when Max Crosby had a chance to get the guy in the backfield, to get Murray in the backfield. And instead of keeping his outside contained, he kind of tries to go at him pretty hard. And then Murray just gets outside and runs out of bounds for like a 4-yard gain. Where if he would have just kept his outside leverage, Murray would have been bottled up in the pocket and they probably get off the field there. So there was probably 9 plays in this game, 2-point conversions, 4th downs where the Raiders defense could have got off this field and they just didn't do it late in the game.
Yeah. And then, as far as on the flip side of that, they gave up double digits in this game at the 8-minute and 13-second mark of the fourth quarter. I mean, that is where the offense really has to kind of – they've had numerous opportunities to kind of put this game away in the second half, and they weren't able to do that. What do we see from this offense that kind of struggled to get things going in the second half? It wasn't for – God forbid – if they didn't get the pass interference on Hollins, then that would have been a really – who knows how many points they would have scored at all in the second half. Watching that game, I just said, hey, I always do this when I watch a game. I say to myself, hey, if they can get to this point mark, and I thought 26 points. I wasn't even looking for anything else than that. But they got 26 points in this game. I thought they would have won that game. That's a couple of field goals. They would have won it. They couldn't get there. And then everything just kind of fell apart as far as what they wanted to do offensively.
Yeah, I think it fell apart at 23-7 when they had that 3-play drive. It was pass, and they punted. I didn't really like the play call on first down. I know Adams was going to be open if Cardi get his hand hit. That's a funky formation. It's kind of a shotgun with an offset eye to his right with the fullback and the running back. They showed it earlier. They ran kind of a sweep play. They got a first down on it, but this was the Cardinals had that. The defensive tackle wasn't a 1 technique in the fourth quarter. They slid him out to 3 technique, and then you're asking Dylan Parham to snap the ball and get all the way out to a 3 technique on a guy that's been getting up the field pretty easily, and he couldn't get there, and that blew that whole play up. And then the biggest thing I think the Cardinals found something in Dylan Parham's snap when he was snapping the ball. They knew there was a tell when he was going to snap it because you saw the defensive line sliding right before the snap and getting into gaps. You saw them getting off the snap very quickly. So I think they knew there was something going on with Dylan Parham in his first start where the defense knew exactly when he was going to snap the ball. And I think on the Raiders side, one thing I noticed from being in the stadium is they were on a silent count the whole game where the left guard would basically be staring in the backfield and then he would tap Rodney Hudson and then they'd hike it. But because the Raiders were mush rushing, you never really saw them jump off the snap count and get in the backfield. So I think the combination of the Raiders' defensive strategy to kind of mush rush, they couldn't really jump the snap count because we're in the stands. You could see exactly when they would snap the ball. There was no hard counts. There was nothing like that. So I think if they run the ball there, even if they don't get a first down, you take 2.5, 3 minutes off the clock. That's the difference in the game because in today's NFL, you basically, if you have a double-digit lead at 5 minutes, they're going to have to get an onside kick. So the goal should have been get the 5-minute mark with a two-digit or a 2-score lead. I didn't mind the Haas juke play on second down. I thought he probably should have thrown it to Adams, who was one-on-one. He probably could have got a defensive holding. The guy had a hold of him at that point. I didn't like the third down call, which was basically a quick screen in the flat. Even if he catches it, you're not getting 10 yards. So they didn't even give themselves a chance to get the first down. That was more of just get the ball out and punt. And it got knocked down by J.J. Watt. So that 3-play sequence, to me, that was more of the game than what happened from the defense later in the game. And clearly the defense got the stop in overtime and then the offense fumbled away. But I just rewatching the game today, there was at least 8+ plays where the Raiders, if they make one play, this game's over.
Yeah, GWAREB. There's coming the comments from YouTube, and we love all the engagement. So keep sending those. You can't win. You can't win when games are rigged. You can tell the Raiders purposely tried not to get the first downs with all those weapons in the second half. This game was meant for Kyle to come back so ESPN can spark the talk. It's such stupid bad acting. Interesting.
He was in the comments all last year. He must be a gambler because he likes to say the games are rigged a lot. A
lot, yeah. That's all right.
There's some conviction. He believes it. So we'll see what happens next week.
When are they going to be rigged so the Raiders and Cowboys can play in the Super Bowl? That's what I'll tell you. J Nick 34. I'll be at the Titans game on Sunday, so good luck to you there. That's a must-win game now. Looking at the schedule, I still think the Raiders can be 10-7 or 11-6. Andrew says thanks for this listening at work. We appreciate you as well. Phil Watson, hate saying must win, but it is a must win. Hashtag Raider Nation has to hashtag just win, baby. And then Carr and McDaniels aren't comfortable. That looks like it probably is true. Super McCartney. It's a bad week when USC uploads before POW Media Raiders does. Ouch. Maybe Caleb Williams is headed to silver and black in 2023. We'll see. But I think when I do 24. The uploads, I was 24 probably. Yeah. I do think when I do it, they play Saturday, Raiders play Sunday, so I think it ends up becoming, on their first anyway. But yeah, I see the point. I see what you're trying to say. So we talked about all those things there. A lot of injuries here. Bolden hamstring, Illuminor hip. I like when people are like don't play and they just have an injury, like the shoulder for Neil Farrell Jr. Farrell Jr. I love that. Concussion. I guess he had the red helmet on today. Andre James, and then you had Chandler Jones a day of rest. Hopefully that sparks something as far as pass rush there, as far as that goes. The hip injury has not allowed Trayvon Merring to practice. Limited practice for Bilal Nichols. No practice for Hunter Renfrow. And then Johnson injury, limited in practice. And then Jacobs had an illness, did not practice. So I think he's usually good to go by game time. So we'll see about Jacobs here. Anything about the Cardinals game before we kind of jump ship and go to Tennessee?
Yeah, on Chandler Jones, I know he's getting a lot of heat on Twitter, and to me, it was more the game plan than anything.
Yes, it was.
And you saw what happened when he got upfield too far a couple of times. Murray got out the back door and ran for a touchdown. So they were trying to keep him in the pocket. Now, prove me wrong, Chandler. Go out there and get 2 sacks next week. But I'm not ready to put dirt on top of the grave of Chandler Jones.
I think that's the first thing. He's such a dynamic runner with the football in his hand, and you can see how just like in that fourth quarter how impossible he is to deal with. And then the way they were using Farrell on the edge and using and they put Crosby on the inside. Like that's something that they were just trying to keep him in the pocket and not letting him get to the outside. I mean that was the whole key in this. When he did, he was deadly. When he was starting, go ahead.
I would say, and they didn't want him going left either. I think that was kind of, if they were going to let him get out, it was going to go to the right. He didn't get out left more than maybe one time in the whole game.
Yeah, it'd have been nice to see them blitz a little bit more as far as that goes. So here's the problem. Tennessee on TV gets destroyed. On TV. So Raider Nation sees that and everybody starts tweeting, boy, if we can't beat the Titans, then my God, right? But you're also winless as well, so you got to take some ownership of that as well. For the Raiders, obviously the key is to stop Henry. I didn't realize. I think back in the day there was Giants had Ahmad Bradshaw and Brandon Jacobs. Brandon Jacobs is not as good as Henry, but they do have something in common. When they get to line of scrimmage, they kind of tippy-toe to line of scrimmage sometimes if the hole's not there immediately. And I think that, for Henry, you can kind of tell because once he puts his foot in the ground and he hits that hole hard, there's a hole there and it's probably going to be a big run. But the Bills did a good job of kind of forcing him to the outside, kind of letting him just like think about the run instead of, really being able to hit the hole. Even Von Miller did a great job in run support there as well. What are some of the keys here to stopping Derrick Henry? Because if he gets going, this is going to be an 0-3 football team.
Yeah, looking at the Titans, they don't have a lot of skill position players in this game. They're starting. Traylon Burks is a rookie, Robert Woods. But other than that, Austin Hooper's an okay tight end, but there's not a lot of depth here. They're going to be down their left tackle, Taylor Lewan. It looks like he's not going to play. So they're going to be starting a backup left tackle. They have a rookie on the right side, and the interior three are just okay. So they're going to want to run the football. The key for me is how are the linebackers going to play action? Because they're going to try to create big shots down the field off of play action. So, again, the focus is going to be on the Raiders linebackers in coverage. What I anticipate them doing is going to a bare front, so 5 line across the line of scrimmage. And everyone that's complaining they want to see Malcolm Kuntz, that's going to have to wait another week because I don't think you're putting Malcolm Kuntz in this game on the edge to try to stop the run that they're going to have to. So I think what you're going to see is 5 across the line. They're going to cover up the center and the guards with big bodies, maybe move Crosby inside as well. And like you saw this week, you're going to see Cleveland Farrell and probably some Tayshaun Bowers, just to kind of bigger body guys that could hold up at the front. And then with a bare front, you're bringing the strong safety down to the tight end. So you're going to have Jonathan Abram in the box too. So again, play action is going to be key. They should be able to load up the box and be able to stop Henry early. If they don't, and Henry starts getting rolling, it could be a long day for the Raiders if they don't stop the run, because I think Tennessee is just going to come out and try to run the football in this game. And just looking at Tennessee's defense, they're down their pass rushers too. It doesn't look like Bud Dupree's going to play. They're
No.
down. Landry's on IR. I'm looking at their depth chart going, okay, Jeffrey Simmons is a scary monster on the inside. They're going to have to figure out how to block him. But who else on this defense? Danico Autry on third downs, potentially, but they're starting a rookie corner. Christian Fulton
Even Autry was, I think, wasn't he hurt today? Wasn't he on the injury list today too?
I haven't seen the Titans injury list yet. Maybe he is.
Yeah,
but they're starting a rookie corner, and then the backups there. You have Christian Fulton's a second-year guy. You have Caleb Farley, who's a second-year guy. They're talented, but they're young. If the Raiders can run the football in this game, and again go to play action, the Raiders had a lot of success on play action, hitting the tight end quickly in the seam. You saw him do it to Waller week 1. You saw Moreau get a couple of those in week 2. The Raiders have to establish the run. Whoever's the more physical team in this game is going to win. Whoever runs the football is going to win, because I don't think either one of these offenses, with their offensive lines, this might be 2 of the 7 or 8 worst offensive lines in the league. And I think the Raiders have the better pass rushers in this game. But it's still a 10 o'clock game. It's still on the East Coast. You have to travel. The good news for the Raiders is the Titans just played a very physical Bills team on a Monday night. So they're on a short week. So there are some advantages for the Raiders here. I think it's going to be a very close game.
Yeah, it's gonna be a close game. I think the Raiders. I just don't know if they have that ability to break out yet. I think if they were gonna break out, I think last week was gonna be the time where they did break out and they weren't able to do so. So that's gonna be a tough one as far as that goes. 7 for 23 in 2 games are the Titans as far as on third down. So we have to see about see how that goes. I mean, Tannehill is, I think Tannehill's like 4-0 undefeated against the Raiders. So that's something that, for some reason he has like a lot of really good success against the Raiders. So I just remember the last time they played, was that the time where Waller had the fumble, they ran it back for a touchdown at the end of the game? I think that was the last time they played the Titans. So
I would like to see a lot more man coverage in this game, because I'm not scared of any of those guys, those tight ends or wide receivers on the Titans, and don't give easy completions to Tannehill. And the Raiders are going to have to tackle. They're going to come out. They're going to throw screens, wide receiver screens right away to Treylon Burks and force the Raiders to tackle in space.
Yeah, I mean, also Robert Woods is kind of a wide receiver who likes contact, so he's going to force you to make tackles on him. I mean, I've seen it firsthand. I mean, he's a USC Trojan, so like, and even his time when he played for the Rams, he's that physical receiver. A lot of pride on that football team. Vrabel is a really good coach. That team does not have a top quarterback, but they're always in the mix for as far as being a playoff team. And even a win in this game, and they're probably in first place. Like that division is not great. I mean, the division is not great. I mean, you could have a situation where even at 0-3, they'd only be they'd still be right there for the division. If you will, in that AFC South. Is this whole, as I look at Adams behind you, is this a situation where like did Derek like kind of go into this game just said, hey, I'm really gonna do whatever I can to get everybody involved? You think? Because it just seemed that's what it seemed like to me. Like it was a game where he just said, I'm gonna get everybody involved and try to make the quote unquote right play. But I mean, it's just, when you have, I texted to you the other day, earlier today, because I was watching All 22. A linebacker on 17 is a huge mismatch. So give him the ball.
Yeah, it was interesting watching the film, because Devontae Adams was open a lot.
Yeah.
And they just decided to go other places. Now, when you run the Haas juke and you're running those hitch routes, they're going to be open. The defense wants you to throw that, and the Cardinals run a lot of cover 3, so they were giving you that route. I think Carr could have kept on the juke route underneath a little bit longer and waited for those guys to win, but he didn't. And then as the game started snowballing in the second half, like there's a spot on a play sheet that says get Devontae Adams the ball, call those plays, and throw those passes. You're paying the guy $140 million, and you gave up valuable assets to bring him to the Raiders, and he's one of if not the best wide receiver in the league. Mm-hmm. You have to make an effort to get him the ball. I didn't like the 2nd and 14 call. on the second to last drive where he kind of just threw the shallow 2-yard route to Waller. Not that there was other options. Carr threw the ball to the right person based on the coverage and that play call. I didn't like the play call. I think they just need to get the ball in his hands and stop throwing these screens to Hunter Renfrow. Throw them to Devontae Adams.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, this week you might not have that option this week because I'm not sure if he's going to play. I think I'm not sure if he's going to play in this game, but I rewatched the Giants and Titans game, and Dontrell Hilliard is a guy who, especially on third down, is a guy you got to watch for as far as third down and catching the ball out of the backfield. So you want to watch his ability as well. I think he has three. He only has three receptions, but it's for 60. Those 3 receptions are for 61 yards. But I know they use him a lot on third down. But like you go through this whole list of, guys. I mean, you're talking about Austin Hoopers and the Nick Westbrook, Inkine. I mean, the Kyle Phillips of the world. Like these guys are. I mean, this is. To your point, I mean, you would think that this is a week where if you're going to kind of challenge somebody to beat you deep and beat your corners, who did play pretty well last week with Hobbs and with and Rocky Sin, also Amik Robinson. This is a week where you got to at least some of these times you got to go out there and play some man coverage to see if you can get a turnover.
Yeah, I like the way that Hobbs and Yasin played. I didn't have any problem with the way they played last week. I thought they were really good. I think the other thing, going back to the Cardinals real quick, the other adjustments the Cardinals make, and what really threw off Carr's timing probably about the middle of the third quarter on, is they started showing that double A gap blitz. But they would mug the linebackers, but then they would drop one out, and then when they have that 6-man surface around the defensive line, Carr was just getting the ball out quick, like snap throw, and they never really brought both guys. So they were forcing him to get the ball quick. They wanted him to do that, and then they rallied and tackled. But going back to the Titans game, yeah, they have to play man this week. I think you man those guys up. You drop a safety in the box. You put 8 down there to stop Henry. You just have to the linebackers are going to be crucial on play action. They have to be able to read the play action properly and not bite on that and get hit over the top. And then we'll see what happens. I think this is the week where if they get a lead early and they force the Titans into second and long and third and long, now those ends can tee up. Now you can bring Crosby and unleash Jones. You can bring Abram on a blitz. But this is the week you used to hear Raiders coaches and defensive coordinators, you have to earn the right to rush the passer. This is going to be the week. You got to earn it. You got to get them in 2nd and 8, 2nd and 10, 3rd and 9. If it's a bunch of 3rd and 3s and 2nd and 4s, it's going to be a long day for the Raiders defense.
When the Raiders are on offense now, and I mean Simmons is, and he's not. I think obviously the top of the line is the guy at D tackle out there with the Rams, right? But he is very disruptive. He is a load to deal with. So if we're gonna have another game probably with Parham at center, if he's giving some telltale signs of like when he's gonna snap the ball, how worrisome is somebody like Simmons going to be for the Raiders here, trying to block him and not disrupt this running game, not disrupt Carr, because we all know quarterbacks hate one thing especially, and that's pass rush in their face.
Well, let's hope they keep them at 3 technique and they don't slide them inside. If you put them out at 3 technique, now you can put a tight end to that side, and then you can double them with the right tackle and the right guard. But if he stays if Parham's at center, and they slide Simmons in, it's going to be a tough day because, I've seen a lot of stuff going around on Twitter that they thought Parham played well. I'm not in that camp.
Who said that?
I think he's had some he had some good plays, but he also had a bunch of other plays that weren't good.
Yeah.
Now, you have to give him credit. He's a rookie making his first start. He didn't play that position in college, so there was a lot of positive, but I don't think he played well. I thought John Simpson had a pretty good game. I thought Colton Miller had a good game, but
that side was good.
We'll see what happens with Simmons, but they're going to have to double him a lot. And then if you have to leave Foster Owen to block, or is this the week you see a 6-man offensive line? Do you get creative and put another tackle out there so that you can leave him one-on-one with the edge and then just double Simmons? It's going to be interesting to see how they scheme this up, because you saw them clearly identify stuff on tape that the Cardinals were doing, and they put in the wham blocks, and And so I think they'll do something here to help neutralize Simmons. But again, the Raiders can't be in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 11, because Simmons is going to eat if they do that.
And so I had a bunch of questions on the text line, and one of the most prevailing ones was Foster more snaps than Waller. I can't can't explain it. I don't understand it, and I don't like. To me, Foster Moreau and Darren Waller are two players who are on different levels in a lot of different ways, and I don't know why. I think for some reason people will just big up Foster Moreau a little bit more than and he's not really a dominating. He's an okay pass catcher, and he's an okay blocker. There's nothing that he does dominant. What Darren Waller does dominant, he can just destroy a game. I mean, he can destroy a game if he's targeted and then you run these plays for him. What are your thoughts about that? Him getting more snaps in this game without injury.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's probably something I was thinking about charting it, just saying, okay, down the distance. Was it a personnel package issue?
Yeah.
Did they bring Moreau in when it was rundowns, and then Waller was more in pass downs? Clearly, there was something going on where the coaching staff was trying to make a point to Waller. Maybe they wanted better blocking. There's no other reason to really say, okay, we're only going to put Waller out there for half the plays when he's your second best offensive weapon. So it's to me, it's probably more of certain things they were trying to run. Maybe they were keeping the tight end and a block on certain downs and passing, or it was just a quick, block and release. And they wanted to give Waller a little bit of rest because he was split out wide a couple of times. But we're through the first 2 weeks. Conditioning shouldn't be an issue anymore.
Yeah.
Run these guys out there, let them play, and get the ball to Darren Waller in space. If you want to do that, then put Waller out there with, especially if Renfro's not going to play this week, just put him out and let him play Zeke, and put Adams at the X and just let those be the 2 wide receivers, and then bring in a slot guy when you want to. Bring in Keelan Cole. Maybe you bring in Johnson to play on the outside if you want to bring Adams into the slot. There's a lot of ways to formationally get them both on the field.
Everybody wants a T Billy sighting. Maybe try to throw one long to T Billy. Questions about that, and then I think of one more I had. Can't find that one, but listen, I'm not as far as I understand that part of it, but like to me, maybe just getting some snaps would be good. I don't know as far as just passing the ball, deep, short, intermediate. 17 ship. You got to ride that ship until till the defense says no mas. You cannot pay him this money. You cannot, trade all these assets for him and not utilize his ability. And I think that's where people get frustrated when I see the first game, yes, and all of a sudden people were saying, hey, maybe we should throw somewhere. No, just give it to 17. He can handle that load, and then it's going to lead to big plays for Waller. Going to lead to plays for Josh Jacobs, who played a great game. I want to make sure that I thought Jacobs played the best game. I mean, if he ever got some consistent run blocking, he really would have shined in this game because he was ready to play. But yeah, I'm not. I think the play. I know people were screaming for maybe like a little T Billy action, whatever. But for the most part, I gotta say, 17 has to get the football.
Yeah, I believe Hollins had more snaps than Renfro, which is interesting as well. But where were the running back screens that were so successful in the first half? They didn't run those in the second half either. So there was a lot of things going on in that game. I think if they play that second half over again 100 times, the Raiders win 90, 95 of them.
Yeah,
it just didn't go their way. But this week's going to be completely different. It's big boy week. The offensive line's going to have to show up, and the defensive line's going to have to show up. That's where this game's going to be won.
Yeah,
and I think the Raiders are going to have to run the ball. They're throwing the ball 70% of the time right now. That's not sustainable.
No, not with this line. Not with this line. No way, no how. Prediction time. Anything else you want to talk about with the Raiders and Titans here before we kind of think through who we think's going to win this game?
I think this game actually, we just spent this whole time talking about offensive line, defensive line, who's going to run the football. I think this comes down to special teams. I think someone is going to make a play in the kicking game, be it kickoff return, block punt, punt return. There's going to be a big swing in the second half on special teams in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know who the Raiders punt returner is going to be if Renfro doesn't play in this game. It's probably going to be
because
Abdullah. Would be my guess.
yeah, because DJ's hurt. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so
DJ's
I'm
hurt.
guessing it's Abdullah, and I'm going to say Abdullah has like a 30 to 40-yard return and sets the Raiders up, and the Raiders kick a field goal late. And I'm going to take the Raiders to win this game. It's an ugly score. I'm going to say 19-16. I think both offenses are going to struggle in the red zone, and it's going to come down to the kicking game. And I trust Daniel Carlson more than I trust the kicker for the Titans in this game. Yeah. And I think a play is going to be made on special teams.
Yeah, it's the first time all year I'm going to really feel comfortable picking the Raiders. And I think the Raiders find a way to win this game. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be, I look at it like, I think 17-16. Maybe a Carlson play. It's going to be the game where people are still going to be questioning the Raiders. And then I think they come home and they play a really good game against the Broncos. That's what I feel like is going to happen in the next 2 weeks. I'm just going to check the weather real quick in Tennessee.
So you're saying pound the under?
Pound the under in this one. I am not feeling the under. I'm not feeling at all. It looks like, oh boy, looks like it might be even uglier weather there. It says 82 with possible showers. So we'll see. So hopefully, they don't do what the Niners did against the Bears. They get the lead before it starts pouring, if it does pour, as far as that goes. So both like the Raiders this week. I was kind of wishy-washy on them last week. I just feel like the Cardinals had all the little tools, all the little things to kind of give the Raiders headaches, and they ended up doing that in the fourth quarter. But hopefully the Raiders to continue to get off the field and do what they were doing as far as that goes. So pick six is where we pick 6 games. I pick 3 and Ryan picks 3. I'll let Ryan go first. So I can type these into the notes app to make sure we can kind of keep score of who's doing who. Now, your first game is who?
I am going to take the Saints. I like the Saints on the road here against the Panthers. I think they come off a disappointing loss at home to the Buccaneers. I like their defense. I like how they match up with Carolina. I think Jameis is going to have a bounce back game. And I only have to lay 2.5 points here, so I just need them to win by a field goal. So I think the Saints get a divisional win on the road this week. I think Alvin Kamara hopefully is back in this game, and the Saints go riding out of Carolina with a W. I'm done picking Indy until they win a game. I picked them last week, and they went down to Jacksonville and got their butt kicked. So I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to take the Chiefs going into the Indianapolis and lay 5.5. It's a big number, but Indianapolis couldn't score on the Jaguars. So I don't know how they're going to stop the Chiefs. And finally, I'm going to take the 49ers, who have their better quarterback playing now with Jimmy Garoppolo. I think they go into Denver, who has their fans chanting down the play clock because they can't even figure out how to snap the ball on time. And I think they beat the Broncos. I think they beat them fairly easily, and I only have to lay 1.5 here. So I'm going to go 49ers, Kansas City, and New Orleans this week.
All right, so I am going to go to Los Angeles here with the Chargers and the Jaguars. I kind of like the Jaguars to win the division. The Jaguars have an opportunity to win the division. And this is one of those games where, you might see a Lawrence kind of, coming of age situation here. I don't know if they're going to win the game, but I think they do cover the 7. I think it went from 9 to now. I think now it's 7 or 7.5. So I do like them to cover that spot. I'm gonna the Raiders is that a pick 'em or is the Raiders by 2?
I think Titans are getting 2.5.
The Titans are getting 2.5.
Titans are home dog.
Home dog. Usually, you like home dogs. So, but I'm gonna pick the Raiders here this week. I'm gonna have them. I know I said 1 point, but I'll give them a couple more. And I think they win that game by a field goal. Or maybe more, maybe a late turnover. It kind of makes it a 6-point victory. I'd like the Niners. I don't want to pick the same game you picked. So I'm going to try to go. I'm going to start seeing the lines on some of these games and see if I can find another game to kind of pick here.
Did you say Lions?
Not Lions. I'm sorry. I'm at 49ers. Sorry, 49ers.
At one point, you're going to have to take Dan Campbell. The Fighting Lions of Detroit.
Lions of Detroit. Let me get Okay, so the Buccaneers are all banged up. They're 2-0, amazingly enough. And Aaron Rodgers loses to Brady all the time, loses this game all the time. I think that trend's gonna continue, and I think the Bucs find a way to win this game. If the Packers don't win this game, then they're never gonna beat Brady in this situation. This is the kind of situation where like the Packers at the Buccaneers or the Packers at the Niners, they kind of seem like they always lose that game. So I'm gonna go with the Packers to lose to the Buccaneers here, even with all the injuries, offensive line, even with all the injuries to the wide receiving core. They want to run the football and get the ball to Jones. I think the Packers can, the Buccaneers can do a good job of stopping that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put the Bucs in here too. Go ride with Brady a little bit. We got Cole Beasley this week as well too, as far as pickups here as well. So that's pretty much it as far as that for the Put on Raiders podcast. Do you have anything else in parting before we kind of head out?
I don't want to say must win in week 3 for the Raiders, but I think they need to win this game with 2 divisional games coming up. They need to find a way to string together some wins now, and they need nothing more to walk into Kansas City on Monday night in week 5 and be 2-2.
Yeah, and they kind of, I know you don't want to look ahead too far ahead, but yeah, and I'm going to the game, so you could do me a solid and not be 0-3. I'd appreciate it. I'd appreciate not being sitting in the stands watching an 0-3 team. As far as that goes, but it's a big game, no question about it. It's a huge game for them to win. So, all right, Ryan, see you next time, and then we'll catch up, and then hopefully the Raiders come out in victory, and then also for those who are waiting for the preview for the Trojans and the Beavers, I'll get that tonight too as well. All right, later.
I'd like to tweet Victory Monday at some point this season, so Monday would be a good day for that.
Monday would be a great day for that. All right, later.
All right, take care.